Last summer, I decided to tackle a major section of the Pacific Crest Trail. I've always loved hiking, especially solo trips. My plan was simple: park my car at the end of the section, hitch a ride to the trailhead, and hike back over the course of a little more than a week and a half. It sounded straightforward enough at the time. The first few days went smoothly, about how I expected. The trail was everything I had hoped it would be: endless stretches of towering trees and winding paths cutting through serene landscapes. I'm in pretty good shape, so I don't have to stop very frequently when I'm hiking. I'm obviously not going to hike in the dark, though, so every night I had to pitch a tent to get some shut-eye. I've always preferred to keep a low profile, especially since solo hikers can attract attention. Because of that, I'd venture a little off the trail to set up my camp each night. I figured it was better that way, minimize the chance of a stranger stumbling across my campsite. Up until the third night, everything was perfectly fine. But what I'm about to tell you is the reason why I'm taking an extended break from hiking, or any kind of wilderness exploration for that matter. I woke up in the middle of the night with this odd sense that something was wrong. It was the kind of gut feeling you can't explain, that you know better than to ignore. I looked around my tent. Everything seemed normal inside, so I decided to have a look around the campsite. I drew my rifle, grabbed a flashlight, and unzipped the tent. There was no one out there, no one that I could see, at least. I returned to my tent and started checking my pack. That's when I realized my wallet was gone. At first, I thought I just misplaced it, maybe left it outside the tent, or buried it somewhere in my gear. But after tearing through everything, it was clear someone had taken it. My personal information, cash, credit cards, all of it. How was that even possible, though? Had someone broken into my tent just to steal that one thing and leave? It seemed unlikely, but randomly misplacing it was very uncharacteristic of me. I came to terms with the unfortunate conclusion that I had probably lost it myself. Things only got worse from there, though. Over the course of the next few days, I started to notice more things missing. Small items, seemingly random things. One of my lighters, my Swiss Army knife, a few energy bars. I knew I wasn't just misplacing everything. Someone was stealing my belongings. Part of me didn't want to believe it, but by the fourth day, it was undeniable. I was being stalked. There wasn't any cell coverage on that part of the trail, so it wasn't like I could alert someone about my situation. I remember contemplating turning back, but I'd only be saving myself a couple of days at best. There was no way I'd be able to hike in either direction without sleeping, but I didn't feel comfortable pitching a tent in those woods with someone literally stalking me. It was a lose-lose situation. I remained calm and told myself there was a reason I had brought my rifle out there. And then it dawned on me, why hadn't that person stolen my gun? It was almost as if they were deliberately messing with me. That night, I tied my tent shut from the inside, hoping that would keep them out should they return. I tried to stay up for as long as possible, but I eventually fell asleep from pure exhaustion. My plan worked, though, because when I woke up the next morning, there was no sign that anyone had been in my tent. By then, the paranoia had fully set in. The solitude was getting to my brain, and every second of hiking was agonizing. I don't have anxiety, nor have I ever had it, but let me tell you, I have never felt worse in my life than I did over the next few days. Just imagine being in my position. No options but to continue hiking, despite knowing someone's lurking not far behind. The anxiety was perpetual, and I was unraveling. I can't explain why or how, but my mind started playing tricks on me. A rustling in the bushes turned out to be nothing. A shadow flickering at the edge of my vision vanished the moment I turned my head. The hallucinations got worse. I can't remember most of them specifically, but the one that sticks out the most is this. As I was walking, I felt myself step into an ankle-deep puddle of water that almost caused me to trip. I literally heard the splash and felt the cold water soaking my sock. But when I looked down, the ground was completely dry. I stood there in complete shock. It felt so real. I had no choice but to continue down the trail. As bad as the days were, the nights were always worse. I tied my tent shut and slept next to my rifle, but nothing made the anxiety go away. At one point, I had to splash cold water on my face to calm myself down. The hallucinations mostly subsided after that. I'm not sure what I would have done if they had continued. The next night, I woke up to the sound of footsteps walking around my campsite. I quietly grabbed my rifle, preparing to confront whoever was there, but my body was frozen in fear. Eventually, the footsteps faded into the woods, but there was no way in hell I was going to sleep after that. As soon as the sun came up, I packed up camp in a frenzy, my hands shaking so badly I could barely tie my gear. I couldn't stay out there another night. I was so close, probably a day and a quarter's hike away from my car, maybe less if I moved quickly. I decided that I wouldn't be stopping to sleep that night, that I'd push through the night to get off the godforsaken trail as quickly as possible. I hiked for hours, as quickly as my body would let me go. When the sun started to set, I gritted my teeth and continued instead of pulling off to pitch my tent. By the time it was pitch black, I was so close, probably 2 hours away at most. I kept walking, flashlight in one hand, rifle in the other. I started second-guessing my decision. I had never hiked in the darkness before, and I was not prepared for how difficult it was. That in and of itself was scary enough. I kept going, trying to keep my breathing steady. About an hour passed. I was getting closer, and then I heard it. Somewhere behind me, I was sure I heard footsteps. I spun around and flashed my light, and to my horror, I saw something slink behind a tree. The adrenaline took over, and I aimed my rifle at the tree. I demanded that they come out in a loud voice. The figure stepped forward. It was definitely a human, but when I tell you it was the most barbaric-looking thing I'd ever seen, I'm not exaggerating. Words cannot describe what I was looking at. He was wearing nothing but a pair of my shorts, which I hadn't even realized were missing. His skin was scratched up in several different places, and his face was covered in hair. He started walking toward me, even though I had my rifle aimed at him. Before I could think, I tapped off a warning round next to him. He jumped at the sound and instantly retreated, sprinting back into the woods. I was in shock. Without wasting another second, I turned around and went as fast as I could. By the time I made it out of the woods, I locked my car doors and called the police. When they finally showed up, they told me that I shouldn't stick around. I didn't need to be told twice. I was out of there that night. The craziest part of the whole thing, in my opinion, was the hallucinations. I didn't think such vivid hallucinations were even possible. It's going to be a long time before I go hiking again, and I can confidently say that when I do, I won't be alone. I would advise anyone planning on hiking the Pacific Crest Trail to be extremely cautious and carry a firearm. This experience is something I still think about often. So, a few months ago, I was out hiking with my friends. We live in the mountains of western Maryland, and we were about 6 miles into an 8-mile loop we have done frequently when we decided to take some pictures and eat a snack at a summit. This area of the trail had a park, benches, and tables in a parking lot. We were sitting and talking, and I noticed a man just walking around the parking lot alone. He was walking aimlessly and staring at his feet. What confused me was that he was in jeans and a button-down shirt, not exactly hiking attire. We decide to set off on the last 2-mile leg of the loop. This part goes downhill to the headquarters of the park and is cut out of the mountain. The end of that leg is the parking lot where our car is. You don't have a lot of visibility from the trail, and you have to walk single file. I was walking in front and talking to my friend. I turned to look at her, and I saw the same man right behind her, following at a rudely close distance. I immediately got a gut-wrenching feeling. I noticed that he didn't have any pack or hiking gear and was not even wearing boots. Something about his eyes really spooked me. So, a bit more walking, and he continues to follow very close. I say to my friend that I have to tie my shoe as a reason to step off the trail and let him pass us, in case he is only following closely because he wants to go faster than we are. She immediately catches on to what I'm doing, and we pull over. He looks startled, and she says, "Hello," politely. He just stares. This is when I notice that he is carrying a stick. As I'm fiddling with my shoe, she stands between us, and he passes. We wait to give him some distance ahead of us, but he immediately slows down. We wait for a bit longer, and he gets to the furthest part of the trail that has sight lines to us, and he turns around looking up at us. We decided that something feels too wrong about this guy, and we don't want to have to pass him again. So, we turn around and walk back up the trail towards the park with the tables and parking. A few minutes of walking up the trail, I looked back and see him walking up the trail too. He's following us. I tell my friend to walk faster. We book it up the trail and get to the parking lot area where we were at before. We start to strategize and wait, deciding that we will wait to see if he comes back up the trail to the lot. There are more people around here, so we felt safer waiting it out. About 20 minutes go by and nothing. We were talking about how that could mean that he kept going on the trail and is long gone, or is waiting on the trail where it is more deserted. We see a couple come up from the trail where we were presumably taking the loop in the opposite direction that we are. We approach them and ask if they saw anyone on the trail between this lot and the next. They tell us they saw a young man sitting on a rock about halfway down. They described a man who was following us. We explain our interaction with him to the wife and get into a conversation back and forth about whether or not he was a threat. The husband finally interjects and says, "We need to call a ranger. He wasn't just sitting there. He had a knife, and was carving that stick. Needless to say, we called the ranger. The nice couple walked that last leg with us to make sure we got to our cars safely. They even gave us their numbers in case we needed anything. The rangers then walked the trail. There was no sight of him. I wish I knew where he went and what happened to him, but I'm glad to know that my instincts are legitimate. So, creepy knife-carrying man in the woods, let's not meet again. My name is Alex, and I'm a junior at Valley High School. There's this amazing hiking trail right behind our school that leads up to Eagles Peak. It's not too hard, just 2 miles to the top, but the view is incredible. So, me and my 3 best friends have been planning this hike for weeks. We're not really the outdoorsy type, but we wanted to try something new. Saturday seemed perfect. The weather was nice, and we had the whole day free. We started hiking around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We took our time, stopping to take pictures and just hang out. The trail was pretty busy with other hikers and families. We made it to the top around 5 p.m. and spent way too long up there, taking selfies and enjoying the view. Now, I have to tell you, I'm already a pretty nervous person. I've watched too many scary movies, and my imagination runs wild. We were about halfway down when I heard Jake say, "Hey, what's that?" I can't see very well without my glasses, and I had forgotten them at home. Everything just looked like dark shapes and shadows to me. "What's what?" I asked. "It's a girl," Jake said, and his voice sounded weird. It was like 9 o'clock p.m. on a Saturday in February, and this trail is completely empty after dark, and we're out here in the middle of nowhere. We all crept closer, and that's when I could finally see her. This girl was sitting in a huge pile of dead leaves, just rocking back and forth with her knees up to her chest. But here's the really messed up part. She was wearing nothing but this thin pink nightgown when it was 30 degrees out. Maya grabbed my jacket. "Oh my God, is she okay?" she said. The girl didn't even look at us, just kept rocking. She looked young too, maybe our age or younger. We all stood there staring. I wanted to help, but honestly, I was freaking out. This whole thing felt so wrong. How did she even get up here? And why was she just sitting there? Then Jake squinted and said he thought she was holding a knife. I looked harder and saw a kitchen knife resting in her lap as she walked in the leaves. Cold fear hit, and I decided to leave immediately. We quickened our pace down the trail, trying to rationalize what we had seen. Sam added that the girl might not even know where she was. We raised our voices as we walked, more to steady our nerves than to communicate. Then suddenly, we saw flashlight beams coming up the trail toward us. This older guy was practically running up the path, breathing hard and looking panicked. "Hey, have you kids seen a girl up there? My daughter, she's missing. Brown hair, about this tall." We all looked at each other. The girl we'd just seen looked like she was in her 20s. Not some little kid, but she was dressed in that weird pink nightgown like a child would wear. No. We haven't seen anyone?" We all just shook our heads and tried to look normal. But inside, we were all thinking the same thing. What if this girl had escaped from this guy? The whole situation felt so wrong and scary. "Okay, thanks anyway," he said. He kept running up the trail with his flashlight. As soon as he was far enough away, we looked at each other and just started running, like full-on sprinting down that trail in the dark. We don't care about tripping or falling. We just wanted to get out of there as fast as possible. When we finally made it back to the parking lot, it was completely empty. Just Sam's beat-up Honda sitting there all alone. No other cars, no license plates we could write down. Nothing that would help the police figure out who that man was. But we still called 911 as soon as we got in the car. We told them everything. The girl in the nightgown and the man looking for his daughter. They said they'd send someone to check it out. We never heard anything back though. I kept checking the local news website for weeks, but there was never anything about a missing girl or what happened on that trail. Honestly, I don't think I want to know. Some things are better left as mysteries. If you enjoy the content, please leave a like and subscribe. It helps a lot.